What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over what happened with it today, go over some of the data points and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go down 8.96%. A lot of volume though, so 73.14 million shares being traded. 45 is the average. Looking at the intraday though, the high was around $7.29, the low $6.63. So I'm going to tie this all into technicals in a second, but there was a couple of things that came out that did plague SoFi, one of which was this. So a damn Form 144. I'm tired of seeing these already. And it looks like Chad M. Borton, who is a officer, is intending on selling roughly around 19,405 shares. So the question is, why are all of these insiders buying? Makes no sense. Is SoFi planning on switching things up and laying off a lot of VPs, maybe bringing in new ones, or even officers or whatever else? Like, what is actually happening behind the scenes? I did do a video already kind of correlating when obviously Anthony buys versus potentially that calling the low. But with this new transaction happening, like that ultimately does signal that there's going to be lower lows happening. But that's once again, if you're kind of looking at this chart bigger picture. And historically, whenever Anthony does buy, which is usually the bottom, like within about 2-3 weeks, like it kind of trends up higher. But with these insiders selling, it is just like questionable as hell. So what is happening at SoFi? I think that's the bigger question. And to piggyback that though, there was good old Dan from Wedbush. And this is also even questionable. So he did reiterate his sell rating, $3 price target today. And even yesterday, there was a $5 sell rating that was done by Compass Point, Giuliano, whatever his name is. But even David has a 36% success rating. Why on earth is anyone paying any attention to David? This is just mind-boggling. I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And even looking on a bigger picture, so if we zoom out, this stands out to me. So on May the 15th, 2023, good old David from Wedbush did give, if I remember correctly, a $2.50 price target on SoFi. And luckily enough, that kind of caused a massive sell-off, which indirectly caused it to go outside the Bollinger Band and indirectly for things to go higher. So he kind of did spark a little bit more of a bump up in the stock price. So I don't know if he meant to do that, but why is he getting so much attention? Makes no sense. And his rating is absolutely horrible. And if I didn't know any better, he technically might have something against SoFi. Like, why is he constantly against SoFi? And why do people pay so much attention to him? Is he somehow a brother-in-law to Biden, or I have no idea. Something is up with David, because there's a ton of other analysts that have very good ratings, such even Andrew, Kevin, both have very good success ratings percentage wise and gives a lot of good price targets. Why is the market so just volatile when David gives a rating? And he typically does give, obviously I think it was around 250 and then bumped it up to 3, reiterated 3, and then obviously now once again reiterated 3 just to spook the market. Like, what is up with that? So ultimately, SoFi went down as much as it did because of those 2 data points. And plus, like I said, because of the sell-off, it kind of escalated the technicals and many things. So I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know, starting off with options though. So based on today, $5.7 million in puts being purchased versus $6.8 million in calls. So in comparison to the last couple of days, there is a lot more puts, meaning people are anticipating for it to break down a little bit more. Looking at this though, this is all the calls, the strike prices, expiry dates. Based on this, it is anticipated by the end of next week to be above $7. And looking on the puts though, it is anticipated to be below $6.50. So once again, that kind of ties into the technicals. I'll break that down for you in a second. But going back to Ortex, I'll go over what shorts did today and everything else you need to know. So today, shorts did return roughly around 117,000 shares. 13.36% of the free float is being shorted. 119.59 million shares overall are being shorted. And cost to borrow average is 1.77%. And through Interactive Broker, short availability does indicate that there's more than around 10 million shares available to be shorted. So How I analyze this information, shorts returning on a very red day does signal that they feel that's an overreaction. So once again, this is why I'm bringing up all the data points, just so you guys can have interpretations on all this. So this information, oddly enough, is bullish. Options activity, still a little bit more bearish when it comes down to that. So let me know your thoughts on that. And obviously I bring this up only as a benchmark. I'm not here to say that SoFi is going to be a squeeze by any means. So one other thing I just wanted to share with you, latest round of 13Fs did come down the pipeline, and you do see a lot of mixed results. So you see some increasing their position, some reducing. The big players such as BlackRock and Vanguard, only BlackRock has disclosed their position right now, which technically based on within Q3, they increased roughly about 6.95%. Vanguard has not disclosed their 13F yet, so we just have to sit tight. Most likely it's going to be coming tomorrow, so definitely fairly positive thing. One odd thing though that did happen is good old Morgan Stanley reduced their position by 27%. So that one kind of came out of left field, but overall I think SoFi is very well positioned based on their earnings and last several earnings for at least to keep the price above $6. That's just based on what they can generate for revenue and so forth. And especially keep in mind, right around the corner is profitability. So just be aware of all that. Don't get so much caught up with Dan's crap that he causes and obviously sell-offs and whatever else. So give yourself a shout out. Did you buy today or did you sell? What have you been doing with SoFi? A lot of people are actually even questioning overall, why is SoFi going down? So even Kelly said, what on earth is wrong with SoFi? Crossroads kind of gave a very good summary that ultimately banks are down and SoFi kind of acts as a bank. Tech is down. SoFi obviously is fintech, and unprofitable companies is also down today, and SoFi kind of meets all those criteria. So kind of a funny spin on all of the crap that's been happening with SoFi. But let's talk on technicals for a second. So with it at $6.71, you can kind of see it did bounce off of the very strong support at the very bottom. So the low for today was 663 and the S1 is 662. So it bounced off of that. So that's kind of a positive note, but it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So a pretty wide gap. So you have to anticipate that there's going to be a lot of volatility, but $7.19 is that next strong resistance point. So most likely just watch those 2 points going into tomorrow. But I do feel based on that Form 144 that did come out, and just a lot of the insiders coming out, it kind of shows and signals maybe there's something wrong inside of SoFi that maybe a lot of investors won't be privy to. So I do feel that is going to really cause SoFi to trend down and maybe even push it to between this S2 and this S1, so $6.27. So technicals definitely did break down very, very fast. Looking at some of the data points that I like to look at, it did transition back into the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, and looking at momentum shows number of retail investors clearly were getting out today. So definitely that isn't always a good sign. And stochastic, you do see that inversion starting to happen again. So a little bit more of a bearishness on SoFi, and it is at 34, so it's not really oversold or overbought. It's kind of just there, kind of neutral. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi in the comments below. Of course, this news did come out today as well, which is kind of positive. So SoFi Invest launches the SoFi Enhanced Yield ETF to offer investors a new income source. So once again, fairly good stuff for that. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? Where do you see things going? Do you think it is, like I kind of mentioned, to touch that 627? Or do you think that maybe Anthony might come once again, buy to raise the sentiment a little bit more and hopefully cause another rally associated to that? Because obviously Chris and Anthony bought at the exact same time, or I think 1 day apart. But that definitely does signal at least they believe in the company. I obviously can't speak for the other people that are selling. I have absolutely no idea. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And one final thing, if you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships, link in the description below and also the comments. With all of that said, I appreciate all of you watching.